email and the reason stated in the request. Just would note again, I didn't ask
Hello.
for email addresses, they were provided, but under the circumstances, I think that's appropriate. Okay, with that, I presume the state has the next group available.
Yes, we're ready to go, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, then go ahead, please.
On November 21st, you killed my mother. And in this courtroom, I watched you run her down and her broken body slide across the concrete. This woman loved and she was loved. You ran her down like she was nothing. And since that day, you have shown no remorse. You'd offered no explanation for your atrocities. It offends me that you're sitting here breathing while she is not. You are a monster. You deserve contempt and death.
Damn.
Sadly, with no death penalty in this state, I can only hope they lock you away someplace so deep the rats chew on your fingers at night. As for me, this will never be over until the day I'm pissing on your grave. I think it would be fair to say that for your crimes, even God hates you.
Damn. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for the record, Your Honor, that was the son of victim
2.
B.
If I could first thank the court, you, Your Honor, and your staff for getting us here today. I don't know how you did. You kept us under 4 weeks, and this is all going to be wrapped up, before the first anniversary, and that means a lot. So I thank you for that. And if I could thank everybody at the prosecution table, our real-life Avengers. I mean, you guys did everything you could for us, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you. And I couldn't not thank Jen Dunn and her staff. I mean, she took all of us, supported us, made us into a family, and without them, I don't think I could have gotten through this trial. And Mr. Brooks, I hope as I read my statement, you continue to roll your eyes. I hope you continue to laugh and just show how bored and unmoved you are by all of this, because I think that's important. It's important for the world to see that evil can be a tangible, living, breathing thing. I think it's important for the world to see what human rot looks like. And to all the survivors, every time he puts his hand on that empty cavity where his heart should be, I hope you all smile, and I hope you take solace in the fact that today is our day. Today is for us. Today is so we can take our handful of dirt, throw it on his grave, and move on. Because that's what we all need, and that's what we deserve. My name is Chris Owen, and I am the plaintiff. I'm here on behalf of another plaintiff, my mother, Leanna Joy Owen. Lee Owen was a mother, a grandmother, a best friend, an apartment manager, and a dancing granny. The reason none of the witnesses saw her in this courtroom is because she was executed by a child-killing sex offender. And we are both injured parties. My whole family is an injured party.
Damn.
To my kids, Lee Owen was
Sing it.
Nanny. And Nanny spoiled her grandkids every chance she got. On every birthday, she would call and sing happy birthday to their voicemail so they could hear it the first thing in the morning. She went on a tour of my son's summer camp. She danced in the same parades as my youngest daughter. She wanted my oldest daughter to use her car to learn how to drive so she could teach her like she taught me. And all of that has been ripped away. But the defendant's conscience is clear. To my dad, Lee Owen was the love of his life. They met when she was 16, and he taught her how to drive. From that point on, they stayed in each other's lives. And even though they divorced, she was still his best friend. They spent a lot of time together, and she was the only one who could get him out of the house. Now my dad has nightmares of her body flying through the air and shattering against concrete. But Mr. Brooks' conscience is clear. To my brother and I, Lee Owen was our mother. A mother who, even when she was struggling, was always there for us.
My man looks about ready to fucking
She always
fly out from that
was
podium and beat the hell out of him.
All my friends,
He looks
my brothers
ready.
knew they were welcomed at our house. When they were in trouble, having problems at home, or just had to get away, she always let them stay as long as they needed to. And for years, every time I came home from the Marine Corps, she got all those same friends together so I could see everybody and spend time with them. She was the one that made sure everyone got their Christmas lists out on time. She made the best eggnog I ever had. And she made my grandma's mac and cheese whenever we were together. She recently renewed her passport so she could visit my wife and I in Turkey and travel the world with us. She also couldn't wait to visit Machu Picchu with my brother. It was her dream trip. Out of all the places in the world, that was the one place she had to visit before she died. And now the best we can do is lay her ashes there. But Darrell Brooks' conscience is clear. And I believe him. Out of everything he said in this courtroom, I believe that is the one truth he told. I mean, how else could he make a witness look at each of his battered friends that he ran over and ask, how do you know who this is? Throughout her life, Lee Owen was a hardworking woman. That's why when she found herself on hard times, she was able to overcome them. Even though it took years, she dug herself out of a deep financial hole so she could live the life she wanted, the life she deserved. And she was in the middle of doing just that on the evening of November 21st, 2021. And I know this is corny and cliche to say, but Lee Owen wasn't 71 years old. She was 71 years young. She was one of the most active people I knew. She just didn't have it in her to sit still. She always had to be moving or doing something, and this often involved people. She was very social and loved being around those she cared about, and people loved her back. She had a knack for making you feel good about yourself without even trying, because she always found the good in people. Even when it was to her detriment, it never dissuaded her from helping people any way she could. Without judgment, without demand for repayment or feeling she was owed anything. She did it because she knew it was the right thing to do, and it made her feel good. She accepted people for who they were and made people feel good about themselves. That is what the world lost, and you have the audacity to tell this court that your conscience is clear. I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks. There's not a human with a soul on this planet who could snuff that light out, who could steal Lee Owen from this world and have a clear conscience. And that is why you hear the term monster. That is why you hear the term demon. You know, I saw you that day. It was just after you ran over the Catholics. I saw you hanging out of the window, looking back with a smile of satisfaction on your face, laughing at an inside joke that at the time I didn't get, the punchline escaping me. I didn't get it when my mom didn't respond to my texts. I didn't get it when she didn't answer my phone calls. I didn't get it the first couple hours my brother spent looking for her. I didn't get it until my wife sent me a video of you running over children in the parade. That's when I got the punchline. And it hit me like your red SUV, Mr. Brooks. I saw pure, unrepentant evil in your face that day, and it disgusts me that you are allowed to exist. And I know the answer to the question that everyone keeps asking. I know why you did this. You did this simply because you were not in a cage. That is what I find mind-boggling. And how dare anyone say the system failed him? The system failed every one of us whose only mistake was to bring their families in the vicinity of Mr. Brooks. That poor excuse for a man should not have been on the streets. That is the failure, period. But enough about him, because today is not about him. It's about us and what we lost. I lost my mom, Lee Owen, and I wasn't always a good son. I could be selfish sometimes.
I would love to have him have a few minutes alone with Brooks.
Standoffish I got. She would bend over backwards for me, even when I didn't deserve it. And now I can never tell her I'm sorry. I can never tell her I should have been more grateful. I can never tell her how much I need her in my life. Yeah, shake your head. Shake your head. You know, because that is what you took from me. And there's nothing this court can do that would provide justice in my eyes. So all I ask is that you rot, and you rot slow.
Hey, Aussie.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you for the opportunity that you're providing both to myself and to the rest of the families and acquaintances of the folks.
He just did a golf clap, yes.
With this horrible case.
Yeah, I'd say send him to the Supermax.
Today, both as an individual and a brother to one of the victims of November 21st. I'm here today as well as a plaintiff joining a criminal complaint against Mr. Brooks with a claim against him for the damage that he has brought not only to Waukesha, but to my family. And I'm also appearing as a posthumous spokesman for the victim, my sister Tamara Durand, who can't appear here today on her own behalf because Mr. Brooks killed her. In my personal aspect, I wish I could as easily forget about Mr. Brooks as he has seemingly forgotten about himself. Every day since November 21st has been framed by what he did in my own life and our family's life. It is the reality I wake to. It is the reality I head to work to. It is the reality I confront as I try to fall asleep. It's the reality I confront as I go about the things I do during the day, my attempts to work, attempts to manage a household and be present for my children, and maintaining any sort of notion of normalcy in our life. But all these actions are simply a pantomime, Mr. Brooks, to forget that my sister was so stupidly and so needlessly killed by you. Perhaps you can forget what you did, but I can't. November 21 looms as a ground zero day in the story of my life, as I know it does in the life of so many others. I appear today also as a plaintiff. Mr. Brooks, you asked the court to identify a plaintiff many times during the course of the trial. Here I am.
Yep.
I'm one of many. We, the people, have brought this case and these judgments against you, Mr. Brooks. They reflect our values as a people and are enacted through laws passed by our legislatures, enforced by our law enforcement, and administered through our courts. We, the people, find you guilty. A lifetime is a long time to think and to spout nonsense. And Mr. Brooks, I want you to take no comfort in your future here in this comic book cartoon world that you've created for yourself, involving the flags and barcodes and birth certificates. This is all nonsense, the stuff of teenage boys on the internet.
Ha!
That's not why you're here today. That's not why we're here today.
Sadly, he's not
You are here today
correct.
because you got in a car and instead of hitting the brakes, ran over.
Sovereign citizens weren't created by 4chan. They're much, much older than that, sadly.
I don't want you to live in the comfort of that delusion as you live there in the court, as you live there in the prison, convincing yourself that you're the victim of something, of some crazy internet conspiracy. You're not, Mr. Brooks. You're guilty only of your own actions on that day, actions that you had an infinite number of times to stop. Any number of times you could have just hit those brakes, turned the other direction. As it stands, I'm a plaintiff, but I'm not a victim. The victim is Tamara Durand, my sister. She can't appear here on her own behalf because she's dead. She died when Mr. Brooks killed her on November 21st. Because Tamara cannot be here to speak, I will speak for her. Darrell Brooks, you took my life. I wish you hadn't. I had people to live for, people who needed me. My parents who are aging, my children who need their mother to help them make sense of their worlds, to cheer them on, to help them into their adulthood, to become friends with them. I have my grandson who relies on me, his grandmother, as much as I relied upon my own grandmother as I was growing up. I had people who needed me to cheer them on, to have me bring goodwill to the hospital bed where they were, or their families in the waiting room, who needed the comfort and prayers I brought to them in their moments of pain. I have friends who need to hear from me and families that need my early morning phone calls. I had places I wanted to see and things I needed to do. The only saving grace is I didn't know what hit me. And who would have ever guessed? Who could ever believe it? It's no surprise to anyone who knew me. After you hit me in that car, I got back up and kept dancing. I hardly skipped a beat. I didn't know you, Mr. Brooks. If the picture were reversed, if you were the stranger in the street in pain, needing care or comfort, know that I would have helped you. I ran towards pain, and I ran into danger in my life. All you had to do was ask, and you might have danced along with us. It was a parade, after all. We both died in vain on November 21st, Mr. Brooks. I died to life, and you now die to the world. We leave lives behind, family behind, children behind us. We both leave dreams, we leave choices, we leave successes, we leave failures behind.
No, sorry if I missed the beginning of the
I died to
proceeding.
mine in an instant, you died to yours over countless days. May the God I'm with grant you the courage to confront what you've done and to remember your own name. It's the least you might do for all these that you've left behind us who can never forget. Mr. Brooks, I'd also like to acknowledge that over these last couple months, I've sent you a couple letters in prison urging you to stand up, to be a man, to grow up, to accept accountability for what you've done. I also used those letters to share with you the love of the God that I believe in and that I know my sister Tamara believed in. I use those letters to share with you especially the story of the final act of Christ on the cross, where he is hanging between two murderers, and he turns to the one and he gives them forgiveness. I urge you to remember, Mr. Brooks, that there were two murderers on that day. One who mocked the holy living in God, and one who accepted accountability for who he was. Your Honor, I urge you to provide Mr. Brooks a lifetime in prison to please contemplate that story and to remember his name and to contemplate which side of Christ he wishes to hang on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The family of victim A is going to speak next. They do have some minors with them, so I'd just like to give the camera a second to adjust for that. And also, one of the minors does wish to make a statement and is somewhat vertically challenged. I'm wondering if she should stand over so that you may see her, or
Sure. Microphone can be taken out. Before I have them come up, I believe Mr. Brooks was attempting to get the court's attention. So let me address him quickly.
I wanted the order of the court, if I may, really quick, pertaining to the last speaker. I have an issue with, if it pleases the court, we can address it later, or if you want to address it now, I'm not sure.
These are sentencing remarks. I'm not going to interrupt those sentencing remarks and have you address him individually.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
no.
talking about addressing him individually.
I don't care.
Mr. Brooks, we're going to continue. I'm not sure what you could possibly bring to the court's attention about a speaker who's already made a statement.
A very valid issue that I can bring to the
You can
court.
put it in writing, sir, while you're sitting there, and if it's something I need to address, I will. But I'm not going to disrupt what's happening right now to address that. You need to put it in writing. All right, go ahead, Ms.
So put it in writing that
Mr. Brooks, please put it in writing.
that's
If you
the
need some
same,
paper,
that's the
then-
same person you had to worked with the father of, right?
Go ahead, Ms. Dunn.
Oh my fuck. So he just put it in there that he thinks that this guy is the one that the judge has an association with and therefore was biased. Fuck this guy. That's what he was trying to put on the record. No, he under his breath, it sounded like he suggested that the guy who just spoke had a
The record speaks for itself.
pre-existing
All the
relationship.
previously put on the record. There's no need for you to make any
That is him
commentary
though,
about
right?
it.
Yeah, that's what it
He
is.
worked with his father though, right?
Mr. Brooks,
Yeah, there it is.
Stop.
This
If you
fucking
interrupt me
guy.
again, you're gonna risk going into the other courtroom. I'm not gonna have
So
you
you gonna hold me in
degrade
contempt?
the integrity of these proceedings.
I'm not
and the
attempting to
solemnity of
cause a
what's going on
controversy. I
right
just
now
wanted to know
by
that.
once again trying to derail what's happening and
And
take
you
the
always
focus
talk
off of
about somebody trying to derail something as if that was the plan. Like somebody coming
Mr.
here.
Here he
Brooks, I'm
fucking
advising you
goes.
to be quiet, or I will clear this courtroom, and under Illinois versus Allen, you will lose your right to be present while the remainder of these individuals give their statements.
Okay, well, come on with it.
Once they start, I
Fucking
expect you
Come on
defiant
with
to
it.
the end.
That's what you've been waiting to do the whole
This
time.
piece of shit. Listen up and listen what you have to
Oh.
say.
All right.
God damn.
Sir, you're gonna have
shit.
to be removed. I'm sorry. I can't tolerate that from anyone. Mr. Brooks, my admonishment to you is the next person's going to get up and they're going to start their statement. And if
Okay,
bet
you
you-
interrupt-
you made it seem like I'm trying to.
I bet you that was the guy before
interrupt
last.
that.
Mr. Brooks,
And I don't think
I'm
that's
turning
fair
to
to
them.
do that.
Please be quiet.
Okay, yeah, I still have the First Amendment right to be heard and to speak. I still have that right.
Mr. Brooks, this is a sentencing hearing.
I don't
The
care
trial
what it is. You're not
All
gonna
right.
continue.
He is arguing
You're
with
not-
me. He is now forfeiting
You're not
his
gonna
right to be
continue.
present.
Then take
Everyone
him
else
out.
in the courtroom
Continue.
while you
Take him
come to the
out.
next Courtroom, and I'll make the appropriate findings.
We're
when I'm
done.
able to do that
So
without
can I get a
interruption.
finding of fact? Can I get a
I'm
legal
stepping
Take him
finding?
out.
Because I don't
Their
agree to
recess
it.
while
Stop
that
him.
happens.
There it is. Good. Get them. You know what? Get them the fuck out of there. Honestly, yeah, I would have preferred a taser, but you know what? It is what it is. I feel bad for the guy who lashed out. It was clearly the guy, not the witness who just spoke, but the one right beforehand. I'm willing to bet it was him. Yeah, I agree, Alana. Hold on. Thank you, Robbie, for the $4.99. The first time, I feel like the first time I've seen a YouTuber move their camera and it wasn't ready. Yes, I'm wearing pants. The support dog. Um. Is it Pepper? Yeah, it's in it's in our Discord. Right on, Damien. Yes, Brian. We are in recess while he gets dumped into the other courtroom. Thank you, Akira, for the 20 months. I mean, honestly, I think we should have expected it by now that he was eventually going to mouth off, and get sent to the other room. Oh, Lana, I'm sorry to hear that. In other more lighthearted news, while we're still in break, God of War still going strong. It's been a blast. I'm going to be playing it. I'm going to be live streaming it tonight, or even later this afternoon. Here we go.
First of all, we are back on the record. Mr. Brooks has been removed to the other courtroom. Mr. Brooks, you're not muted, so if you're going to keep talking, I'll have to mute you.
I don't care about me.
All right, so I've muted him, as you can see and hear. He was not muted initially. I will advise there is a headset next to him should he wish to put those on. This court, frankly, acted a bit more swiftly than I have in the past due to the nature of the proceedings, the history of Mr. Brooks's outbursts during the trial.
They're used to it by now.
Him attempting to address an issue that was addressed by this court the very first time I ever had Mr. Brooks in the courtroom dealing with victim C's
Yes.
father.
We're at the sentencing hearing.
Certainly working with him in.
Hey, what's up, JT? I see you there.
That was made at that time. All of that was put on the record, and it's not an issue this court, frankly, needs to address today. It is, frankly, a blatant attempt by Mr. Brooks to be disruptive, to take the focus off of.
Oh, you too, Christopher?
Very
I got the
emotionally charged victim
collector's edition too.
Statements here today from those who have been involved with the Dancing Grannies and people who lost their lives on November 21 of 2021. I warned him a couple of times, even, in my words, backtracked a little, told him I would have the state have the next victim.
This is Ben on the air.
And if
Yes.
he then interrupted, I would have him removed. He wanted to debate with me. He interrupted me repeatedly. And at that point, there was also an outburst by a member of the gallery. I addressed that. Then I indicated the courtroom would be cleared. I think I owe it to the individual who was kicked out, because I've given Mr. Brooks this opportunity on many occasions. If that individual would like to come back into the courtroom and can do so respectfully without an outburst, they are invited back in by this court.
Good.
Mr. Brooks, I will also advise you that you are welcome back into this courtroom if you can abide by the rules of decorum and civility. While you have a right to be present for this sentencing hearing, you do not have a right to interrupt the court, to disrupt the court, and to be defiant, which is how I would describe your very recent behavior. And that is why this court, under the authority in Illinois versus Allen, did remove you from the courtroom. I have the ability, of course, with the technology. He's able to hear, he's able to see. We are able to see him. He's muted right now. While I attempted to have him appear without being muted, he spoke over me. If he wants to come back in before it is his turn to speak to the court and present individuals who wish to speak on his behalf, he needs to simply ask the bailiff, and then, of course, abide by the rules of civility and decorum. It's, of course, a very emotional day for many people here, if not all, and I think even more today than any other day. Respect needs to be what guides everyone in this courtroom, and not interrupting and not having outbursts, no matter how difficult the situation may get at times. So I've made the record. I will unmute, but if there is any interruption whatsoever, I'll have to mute him once again. So the unmute is off. And once again, I've confirmed that the technology is working, and all right, what do you need to do?
I mean, we can move one of the cameras, but I mean, we were behind him before, so.
I think they're working with the cameras to
He'll be able to hear. He may not be able to see the individuals speaking. I would note the podium is behind him in any event, and I don't believe he's turned back at all during this hearing, and it's standard, really, protocol for an inmate to remain looking forward, so I don't see any issue with that. He will be able to hear. With that,
We will need to screen share for the next speakers, Your Honor. There's some photos that we'd like to display, just to give you a heads up on that.
I believe Madam Clerk will be able to do that for us.
Miss Mandy doesn't have her camera on.
When we get that up and running, then the next person can come on up. Looks like it's working. All right, thank you, sir. As a reminder, if you would at least let me know your name if you want to, or son of victim so-and-so, that would be very helpful, as I am trying to take notes of everyone who is making a statement. No, you are not muted. I expect you to be quiet as the proceedings continue.
I was just asking, was I muted? I didn't know. You just said I was muted.
I'm sorry for the interruption, sir. Please continue, or please start.
My name is Marshall Sorensen, and I am son to a murdered mother, Virginia Sorensen. On a day that I was planning to put up a Christmas tree with my family, I received a call from my dad that would turn my whole family's world upside down. When I answered the phone, my dad told me something happened to your mother during the parade and she didn't make it. I said, "What do you mean she didn't make it?" My dad proceeded to tell me that she was killed. Of course, I didn't believe him at first, but when I hung up the phone, reality set in. As I wiped the tears from my eyes, I thought to myself how I was going to tell my two little girls, as they wait in the other room to put up the Christmas tree, that they will never see their grandma again. As a parent, one of the hardest things to endure is to see your family in pain. Witnessing my daughter's hearts get shattered into a million pieces in an instant that night, trying to understand what happened to their Grammy, is something I wish to this day I could make go away. I love my mom unconditionally, and so did my family. My mom would jump at the opportunities to spend time with my daughters. I was blessed with having that opportunity with my mom, but my girls were cheated out of that because of the acts of one evil person. Mr. Brooks, you had mentioned that you will never be able to get the chance to hold your grandchild. To that, I say good. Maybe then, while you're locked behind bars, you will experience a little bit of the pain that you inflicted on 6 families when you killed their loved ones during a Christmas parade. My family will never get the chance to hug my mom one last time and say goodbye because of your actions. You will never understand what you took from my family, and by your actions in court, you don't seem to care either. You murdered my mom, and for that reason, I'm asking the judge to sentence you to life in prison without parole. I continue to have a hard time understanding why such a loving person like my mom had her life ended in a tragic way. but I do have some peace knowing that she left this earth doing something she loved. I encourage people now, after a year, that if someone asks you how my mom died, Virginia Sorensen, that you respond with, "Let me tell you how she lived," because that is what made her so special to so many people. When I was a kid, most of my superheroes wore capes. As of today, myself and family, we have a new one, and she wears a robe. Thank you, Judge Darrow. Words cannot express my family's gratitude with the time and effort you put into this trial. I want to also thank Sue, Zach, Leslie, Detective Casey, Jen, Pepper, the witnesses, the jury, for the sacrifices they made so justice could be served. Lastly, I want to thank the city of Waukesha for their community of love and support they displayed towards our family during this time. Going forward, my family will refuse to live in fear because of the acts of one evil person. My family will continue to attend parades, and at this year's Waukesha Christmas Parade, we plan on walking with the Dancing Grannies. We will do this in remembrance of my mom and show that we are stronger together. I ask you today to please remember the picture shown on the screen during this year's Waukesha Christmas Parade. This picture was taken before a previous parade. My hope for you is that it reminds you of the true representation of what the Waukesha Christmas Parade stood for before this tragic event.
Thank you,
which is the unconditional
Uncle Steve, for the
love
£5
between
super chat.
families while celebrating the spirit of Christmas. May angels watch over you and you remain strong. I would like now to bring up my daughter, Brooke, to say a couple words about her grandma. She held the banner with my mom at previous parades, as shown in the picture above.
Thank you for being here, young lady. What would you like to tell me?
Hello, my name is Brooke Sorensen. I'm Virginia Sorensen's granddaughter. The things I miss about my grandma are me and my sister Mackenzie doing foot races around the driveway, and my grandma would do commentary and time us. She always cheered us on at all of our activities. I would DJ at dancing granny parties and carry the banner at parades with my grandpa while Grammy danced. When we would get on the school bus, she would say reading is the key to learning to be nice, kind, brave, and angels watch over you. After school, we would talk on the porch. Other times when we came over to our house, we would play games together, go to the playground, have drawing contests, dance parties, and work on granny routines. She would give us snacks when we watched some of our favorite movies like Polar Express and Coco. When we first found out that she was gone, I started to cry, and I would cry every night. I missed her so much, and still do today. Darrell Brooks, you took her from me, my sister, and my family. The things we will miss the most are not seeing her again, her smile, her laugh, being able to talk to her, and doing fun things with her. My sister and I pray every night for our Grammy and our family. Grammy, I'll see you in my dreams.
I'm being told Mr. Brooks would like to come back. Before I do that, sir, I need a pledge from you that you will abide by the rules of courtesy and decorum and you will not interrupt. Can you do that, sir?
I'm not going to interrupt.
All right, then I will give him that opportunity to come back. We'll clear the courtroom while we do that. Take a brief recess.
I don't think he's earned it. I mean, Ed 209, I imagine using foul language is likely frowned upon, but I mean, that's about it. Well, he can try and keep on delaying as much as he wants. It's not going to get him anywhere. You know, it's over and done with. All right. I need a better cable. Thank you, Peggy, for the $10 super chat. You got a boba for him? Damn. My mic should be fine. I would expect it to be. It might be on Discord, Mandy. Benjamin, thank you for becoming a member.
Been advised that there may be an issue with the screen in front of Mr. Brooks, but I would note that the large monitor that's directly above the witness stand and the other monitor, which is closer to Mr. Brooks behind the clerk, has been working the entire time. Zach may be coming in to look at it, but we'll keep going while that happens since we are able to see and hear that way through the monitors. So, please, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It has worked periodically. I see that. I guess we're going to take a pause then as we accept that. Sorry. I didn't know it caused that disruption. Can the state put something up and I'll...
That was like way earlier when we first came.
It's working. Okay, great. It's working. All right, my apologies, sir, for that interruption.
Judge, I bumped the power button.
All right, well, there's nothing on.
Yeah, we did that.
There's nothing on it at the moment.
Okay, yeah, as long as you got that, you should be fine.
Court, really quick.
No, we're gonna keep going, sir.
I just wanted to apologize for Over. That's all. Wasn't to.
All right.
Okay, we got it. Move on.
I really do.
Shut up.
All right, go ahead, sir.
My name is Sean Sorensen, Virginia Sorensen's oldest son. Without warning, on a joy-filled Sunday in November, our family and others were devastated by an unfathomable act of evil. My mother, Virginia Sorensen, Jenny, a loving and devoted grandmother to 6, mother to 3, sister to 3, and wife of 56 years to my father, and friend to countless others, was taken from us for no comprehensible reason. My mom didn't let her age of 79 slow her down, be it the dancing grannies, her horses, dogs, cats, chickens, travel, working as a medical records nurse, holiday get-togethers, the occasional brandy old-fashioned, and having sleepovers and movie parties with her grandchildren. She enjoyed the company of others and was always up for an adventure. She never tired of listening to her grandchildren's dreams and inspiring them to shoot for the stars. She was so proud of all 6 of them in this photo: Carter, Claire, Gabrielle, Savannah, Brooke, and Mackenzie. She was killed doing something she loved and enjoyed with the dancing grannies, and although we were denied the chance to be with her when she passed, we know she was surrounded by friends and the caring strangers who sought to save her life, so we find comfort that she did not die alone. She was a compassionate person. She was always telling us, "God bless you," or "Angels watch over you." She will be missed with an aching emptiness in all our hearts. Judge Darrell, thank you for overseeing this trial. You define excellence in your profession, and we are so grateful you were assigned to this case. Thank you to the 12 jurors of this strong community who carefully and unbiasedly listened to the evidence and brought back 76 guilty verdicts. Thank you, Sue Opper, Leslie Basie, Zach Witshaw, and the entire Waukesha District Attorney's team for ensuring Mr. Brooks would not escape the consequences of his despicable actions. Thank you, Detective Tom Casey, and the many law enforcement officers of Waukesha and other jurisdictions who investigated, collected evidence, and testified to ensure Darrell Brooks will never be a free man. Detective Casey came to my dad's house in the early morning hours of November 22nd to deliver the heart-wrenching confirmation that my mother had passed, and he has greeted us every day in court since then. I want to thank the Victim Witness Program, Jen Dunn, her staff, and their best comfort dog, Pepper, for their kindness and constant comfort to all the families affected this past year. She and her office have been a rock for us to cling to when events have threatened to emotionally overwhelm us. I want to thank the Waukesha Women's Center for supporting Corey Runkle and Erica Patterson in their testimony against Mr. Brooks and his abuse, and the good that the center does for other abused women. I want to thank the first responders and medical personnel at the parade who rendered aid to the injured and attempted to save my mother's life that night, and a nurse that we met at the memorial one night by chance, Sarah, who held my mother's hand that night. But she was already dead. A severed spine, multiple skull fractures, pelvic fractures, and her Christmas hat wedged under the windshield wipers of the Ford SUV. There was no ambulance ride or hospital stay. She was gone in a split seconds after Mr. Brooks smashed into her. But she will live on forever in our hearts. Finally, I would like to thank the Waukesha community and thousands of others for their outpouring of love and prayers to the families and victims of this unspeakable tragedy. I have few words for Mr. Brooks. Just saying that name brings anger and hatred into my heart. And I want to move forward after this sentencing with the happy memories I hold of my mother. I sat silently almost every day in this courtroom, bit my tongue, restrained myself from jumping over this divide to administer my thoughts of justice. As Mr. Brooks droned on about where the plaintiff was in this case, who the plaintiff was in this case. You've already heard, there are many plaintiffs here. I'm here, right now. I've been here all along. And now he gets to hear from me and will from many other plaintiffs before this day is over. He is simply a repulsive man who has shown zero remorse for his actions and depraved indifference to life. His fake tears in court were never for those harmed, but only for himself and the freedom he has lost. His narcissistic behavior, disgusting trial antics, and defiance to accept any accountability displays how truly unworthy he is of anyone's forgiveness. While we lost my mom instantly, I hope his 76 sentences pass in a slow, miserable, depressing existence as a reminder of the many lives he shattered. There are two others I hold culpable in my mother's murder. Dawn Woods, the mother who knew her son's felonious criminal history and penchant for violence, yet bailed him out of jail for $1,000 after he had assaulted Erica Patterson by running her over with Miss Woods' Ford Escape. She continued to allow him to drive it and enabled his violence and murders that Sunday afternoon. The other is John Chisholm, the Milwaukee County District Attorney, whose misguided and ill-conceived bail reform policies led a violent, multi-convicted felon back into our community and onto our streets while already out on bail from a previous violent felony. Mr. Chisholm disregarded his duty to keep the people of this community and state safe from repeat criminal offenders and allowed a career criminal to snuff out 6 innocent lives. He is a coward who hides from the accountability for his office's negligence. If he had a tiny, single sliver of integrity, he would resign. Not once has Mr. Chisholm said 3 simple words to these victims and families: I am sorry. At least Miss Woods in her many media interviews has the humanity and understanding to say those words to the families affected. 6 families have been bound together forever in grief. 6 families have lost loved ones who are cherished and can never be replaced, but forever remembered with love. 6 names I will now never forget: Jane, Jackson, Bill, Tammy, Lee, and Ginny. As my mom was fond of saying, angels watch over us. And I know now there are 6 more watching over us.
Hey, Emmy. Long time no see.
Judge Darrell, my request is simple. Maximum terms of imprisonment. Every single charge.
Hey, Taco, thank you for
Life without
joining.
parole for all 6 counts of
Becoming a member.
intentional homicide. Thank you, and all who played a role in bringing justice to the families in this community.
Not yet, Foster. Still, probably what, 30% in? Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate it.
David Sorensen, Virginia Sorensen's husband of 56 years, and I'm wearing this Dancing Granny sweatshirt in her memory. Few thank yous, first of all. Thank you, Judge Darrell. You earned your angel wings in this trial. Thank you to the jurors and those who testified who had to experience the horror of November 21st of last year all over again. Thank you, District Attorney Sue Upper, Leslie, Zach, and her excellent team. Thank you to Tom Casey, Waukesha Law Enforcement, first responders both on and off duty at the parade, medical personnel at the parade, and the area hospitals that cared for the injured. Thank you, Jan Dunn, and your caring team in the Victim Witness Office, especially my new furry friend, Pepper. Here's a thank you that nobody knows about. Thank you to J.J. Watt. He's a professional football player for the Arizona Cardinals, who gave this community money for funerals for the victims, 6 family funerals. Finally, thank you to the kind and compassionate people of Waukesha County, state of Wisconsin, and others from around the country and the world who have helped the victims of the Waukesha Christmas Parade find comfort, shared in their loss and sorrow, prayed for the injured, and offered words of caring so that we may heal both physically and mentally. Although I have very specific thoughts on how I and the parade families would want revenge
I
on the
fully
convicted for what he did, I hand over his fate now to God.
6 consecutive life
So
sentences.
I will let God determine the revenge I ask for, be it a week, a month, a year, a lifetime. I think it's fair to say the convicted is an evil animal, and I hope that God's wrath falls upon him. It actually started before the trial did, because he took away his own God-given name. He didn't want to be known by his name. I refuse to accept him as a person that deserves compassion or mercy. I too regret
Thank you, Peggy, for the
Wisconsin
$5.
does not have the death penalty, because if someone ever deserved it, the convicted most certainly does. Life in prison is too kind. That Bible on your table will not do you any good, for where you will end up. I have struggled this past year with Jenny's loss. It was to be her last parade. She was going to retire. I will continue to struggle with the loss. I am lucky to have family to care for me and wrap me in love so that I can start to glue together the shattered life I now have. I know Jenny probably saved our 2 granddaughters, who sit behind me, their lives by carrying the banner that day in their place, and I thank God for that. The life that Jenny and I built over 56 years of marriage was forever altered nearly a year ago. I will carry on in this new life with help from my family and friends. The life I was once able to share with Jenny is gone, but it has strengthened my family's closeness and in a way made us stronger for the great challenges we have ahead of us. I feel sorry she will not be able to hold a great-grandchild or see all of her grandchildren be successful in life, but I pray to her and know she is watching over us. My Christian faith and church have helped me cope with my sadness and find hope and love over hate. My friends have lifted me up in their prayers. My family carries my burden with me. My dogs at home give me a small measure of comfort when I am in need. Angels will watch over all of us and give us strength. Now I want you to use your imagination a little bit. When it thunders, I imagine that Jackson is blasting a home run over the fence. When there is a rainbow, I will imagine the dancing grannies, Jenny, Tammy, Lee, and Bill, with them dancing along its lines. When there's a ray of sunshine poking through the clouds, I will imagine it is Jane, smiling down on us. When it snows like it did this morning, I will imagine God's love giving us a blanket and comfort. When I see a blue light, I see this community's commitment to help heal and support each other. Judge, you have witnessed the same evil I have. You have endured a very emotional and draining trial as I have. I ask for the full punishment within your power. I ask you to send this evil animal to life in prison with no chance for parole for the callous murder of my wife and 5 others and injuring 61 others. He should never have the opportunity to hurt another person and has forfeited his right to be a free man ever again by his violent actions against innocent lives, both young and old. You are a very evil, evil animal. Amen.
Thank you. I have one very brief statement from a young woman who was marching with the grannies, and then we have, I believe, 3 statements from one more family before the next group will have to be brought in. This is a statement from a young woman who was holding the banner with the grannies, and she marked down that the crime made her feel sad, mad, scared, and then also wrote in valuable. Asked, if you were the judge, what would you do to the offender? She checked, send them to prison, and then her own idea of make the offender go through the physical and emotional pain I went through.
I think this might actually be it for me. That one kind of did me in. I don't know if I can really watch the rest of this, so I think I'm gonna stop here. Yeah. So, but I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll probably go into God of War in a couple hours or so. But this is that last one really hurt. So I don't know if I can really go forward with the rest of it. I really don't think I'm going to be able to live stream the rest of them tomorrow, with the exception of maybe towards the end, when the judge finally hands down the sentence. I might go live for that, but I don't know if I can really go with the rest of the witness statements. So thank you guys for watching. Look for me later on today for God of War. But I want to thank you all for being here with me. But this guy, he really is a prick. I mean, we all knew that. I really didn't expect him to suddenly become self-aware and acknowledging what he is and who he is and what he did. But it's still infuriating all the same to see him constantly roll his eyes and pretend to be suddenly God-fearing throughout the proceedings. But it is what it is. But thanks again, guys. You'll have a good one, and I'll see you when I see you later.